Welcome to an exciting show on The Perspective today with Mike Sherbino and Julie Stautland. The psychology of any endeavor takes determination and, as the old saying goes, blood, sweat, and tears. David Nurse is an NBA Mindset Strategist and life optimization coach. David transforms the lives and performances of NBA players, CEOs, and actors. He's hired by companies like the NBA to help develop thousands of employees and develop their unshakable mindsets. Like a character straight out of Tom Cruise's Top Gun, David's own getting into the zone led him to 2 Guinness World Records for shooting. And if his last name sounds familiar, you're right. His uncle is head coach of the Toronto Raptors. David is also busy carrying on the Nurse legacy as he writes, speaks, and travels all over the world.
Well, welcome to The Perspective. I'm Julie Stautland, and Mike Sherbino is away, but we have Mitch Hunter with us again. So always nice to have you with us, Mitch.
Julie, I'm happy to be here. I'm having a good time.
Well, you know, today we're having a motivational speaker, and it's interesting because years ago I used to be a motivational speaker, but this guy, David Nurse, is amazing. And you hear about his 2 books that he has written about and the impact that he's had in the NBA, and I know you're a sports guy as well, so I'll
Julie,
let you deal with that.
You're excited. You relate to the motivational speaker. I hear basketball coach, and I know I need help. So.
I know. Well, listen, let's jump right into this. We're going to have David Nurse with us. So welcome to the show.
Hey, Julie and Mitch. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, listen, let's have Mitch start with that question.
Yeah, David, just right out of the gate, we've got to ask about your uncle, a Canadian hero, Nick Nurse. What's that like being related to the head coach of the Toronto Raptors? What's that like?
Man, it's amazing. I mean, I've known Nick my whole life, obviously, and it's always been Nick. He's been the same guy, consistently just pouring into the teams that he's been with, the players that he works with. I mean, I've seen him from the times back in England and overseas to the G League. But the interesting thing is, like, he always knew he was going to be an NBA coach and an NBA champion coach. It's part of the whole mindset. You live in what you want to accomplish. Who you believe.
And it's in the family.
Apparently.
Yeah, I guess, and that's kind of what a lot of that rubbed off on me. Like, he was a role model to me, and he's just an incredible guy, and obviously has done a great job up there in Toronto.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we saw from some of the amazing accomplishments in our intro today, but expand for us what exactly you do. Because I saw here that Breakthrough alone, your book Breakthrough, the first day it hit #1 on Amazon. Like, that's incredible. So tell us what you do.
So in a nutshell, I mean, we might be on this show the whole time if I try to say everything, but it's helping NBA players, but also everyone in general, business people, moms, stay-at-home moms, get in a deeper zone, more focus, and just overall have a more positive mindset and outlook on their life.
Well, how about a little more? Because I saw here you've got your 29-day plan.
More,
I mean, like you're wetting my whistle here.
You want the secrets? Okay.
David, we saw your bio. Tell us more.
All right. So with NBA players, one of the main things that I specialize is in helping them develop unshakable confidence. So this means when they step on the floor, like, how are they going to be the best version of themselves performing every single night? And there's 7 steps to unshakable confidence that I go through with the players. I'll give you a couple of them. I want to give the listeners a few tools that they can take away.
Okay.
So here's the first one. It's called the personal highlight reel. Now, we've all had this moment in our lives where we've just been at the absolute top. We've been killing it, whether it was a sporting event or a business meeting or making some killer Sunday pancakes with the family. You've been at that zone before. Now, society and in general, our minds want to tell us that we are the lesser version. We are the weaknesses that we have. But since you've already been to this moment, you can recreate this moment. So I have my players and people that I work with. Every morning when you wake up, you visualize this moment. You visualize, you feel it, you see this moment that you've been through, but you also tie different scents to it. If you can tie a smell, if you can tie the feel to it, smell is 3 times more powerful than any other scent. So it's going to help you be kicked back into this memory of, okay, this is who I was at my highest point. I can get there again. So implementing this personal highlight reel into your day. Another tool that I use is for self-awareness. because a lot of our days will just continue to go, and we'll get caught up in this hamster wheel, and we won't be able to stop these negative thoughts that come in. So it's just simply a snap of your fingers. So the snap is a cue. This is a mental cue. It sends to your subconscious that you're aware. And the snap of your fingers stands for stop, snap. So you stop right in the moment. You notice the N. You notice what's going on in your surroundings. A, you assess. So why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I unconfident? Why am I worried what other people think of me? And then you're able to pivot. So you're able to pivot your mindset. So self-awareness in the moment is one of the most important things somebody can do for their overall mindset. So I use this with athletes on the court. It could be a snap of the fingers. It's also a term that I use called the cue word, where you just say a word. You pick your most powerful word. Pick a word about yourself, whether it's unshakable, or you really focus on the process, or you're really thinking that, hey, I need to work more on being brave and courageous. And you say this word over and over and over again, and it's a cue to your subconscious that you can live in your confident self. So,
And so
different tools.
David, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I've got to ask, I'm thinking about folks at home, they're saying, okay, here's a former professional basketball player who's teaching professional basketball players. You know, they're saying, okay, how am I going to apply this to my life? Does it apply? Is there a difference between the mindset that you are teaching athletes to have and that you're encouraging us to have? Can folks at home enjoy this advice?
Yeah, there's really not a difference. I mean, it's just what level playing field that you're on. Whether it's an NBA playing on court in front of millions of eyes for millions of dollars every night, or it's somebody just working at the office, going through a 9 to 5. It doesn't matter. The pressure is still pressure. At different levels is just, I mean, it's going to be obviously more intense if there's more eyes on you, but it doesn't mean that pressure doesn't exist.
Right.
So there's different tools, and you can feel more confident in yourself too, knowing that, okay, I have these tools that I can use, because a lot of our day in life is spent on the reactive, but I teach people to be on the proactive. Just like if you're going and playing. So if you're playing golf, you're going to want a different club for different shots. You're not taking just the same club and reacting to every single shot that happens. You're in control. And being in control gives you a lot of confidence in your day.
You know, David, I like the fact too that you shared earlier, but you really use the senses to help trigger a different mindset. And it just, I have to share this. I made me think of my little girl who always had an anger problem. And she came home one day and she had heard about this idea of stop, think, control your anger, and just how that physical action actually helped her when she would have episodes of losing control of her anger. But it works, right?
It totally works, and something you can use in that situation too is the alter ego effect. So there's one part of you that can be this person who is, all right, allow yourself to have these moments where you're going to be frustrated, but then tell yourself, okay, that's a different person. That's little David or quick-tempered David, but dangerous Dave or strong Dave. Like, give yourself a alter ego as a superhero. People love to associate with superheroes.
Yeah.
So when you give yourself this different alter ego, you're able to detach and place the part that is not the person you want to live in to who you were. It's a great thing for the past. So if you're struggling with issues from the past, which a lot of us, majority of us, have something from the past that we're allowing to dictate our present and control our potential future, give it a different name. Allow yourself to detach from that. Because one of the most important things that people can do for their mind overall is accept the past. You accept it. You can't change it. Take it for what it is. Learn from it. Accept
Yeah.
it. Appreciate the present. You are in the moment you are at right now for a reason and a purpose. Appreciate where you're at. Like I said that my Uncle Nick did, he appreciated the present. He accepted the past, appreciated the present, that he was going to be an NBA champion head coach, and then you anticipate the future.
Well, you know, I also want to talk about the fact that your focus, you have written on success, on failure, passion, joy, and confidence. And you're sharing here about, you know, things that haven't gone well. Talk to me about failure and how you use failure to also be something positive.
Yeah, so failure is something that all of us, it's our biggest fear. We fear failure, but failure is actually the best way to learn and grow for a couple reasons.
Mm.
First, you learn different ways that it obviously didn't work. It's like the whole Thomas Edison thing. It took him 1,000 times. On that 1,000th time, he figured out how to do the light bulb. But also, if you fail at something, you go through something difficult, you're able to teach somebody else coming along behind you how to do it, how to go through it with joy. So not only do you learn a better way, you also are able to be this coach, this mentor to somebody else coming along. So failure, it's just like you flip a coin. And let's say if it lands on heads, then something good happens. If it lands on tails, something bad happens. But you can literally you can use this coin as a double-sided head, as a positive for both. If it lands on heads, that's great. Great momentum, continues to build momentum. It's a compounding effect is very powerful. But if it lands on tails, you look at it, you flip the perspective of, oh, okay, I'm going to learn a better way, and I'm going to teach somebody else along the way. So no matter what happens to you, you've got the best of both worlds.
I love that. I love that. Well, listen, we have to take a short break. We're going to be right back with more with David Nurse.
So the idea we're spreading is why you should embrace waking up a different person every morning. So the mental health crisis is a massive epidemic throughout the world. Nearly 1 in 5 adults suffer from mental health issues. And here's the biggest thing that holds us back is we allow the past, the person that we were the day before, control who we are in the present and who we will be in the future. We have 330 billion cells being replaced daily within our body. That's 1% of our cells. So physically, we're becoming new people every day. And after 80 to 100 days, all of our cells have been replaced. We can embrace this mentality that each day does not determine who we will be.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're in the middle of talking to David Nurse. And David, I love that you've got it behind you there. You've got your book, Pivot and Go. Just tell us a little bit about this book that you've written.
Yeah, so Pivot and Go is based on a 29-day mindset blueprint to change your mind and the way you view your perspective. 29 days, because 28 is the generally accepted term of how long it takes to form a habit. Then 29 is your choice to make that a lifestyle. We hear about habits, we hear about routines, but then they end. But why not make it a lifestyle? So pivot is a basketball term when you're defended. You can't see the hoop, you can't see your teammates, but you make this slight turn. It's not a big change. Big change is daunting for people, but it's a small shift and everything opens up. And that's the way life is. Life is a small pivot of perspective that can open your entire trajectory for your life. It's actually one of the greatest quotes that I've ever heard was said by my mom when I was living on my parents' recliner chair after I had been cut from my professional basketball career. She was doing dishes. She said, David, when one door closes, 4 open in an entire beachfront patio overlooking the ocean. And it hit me because I thought it was one door. But what she was saying is a door closed is just a massive opportunity for something else to come. Yet most of us look at if a door closes, it's over, it shuts it. But what I learned is everything I poured into learning how to be a great player was not for me. It was for me to be able to serve and coach and help other players who had more God-given ability and 7-foot height and athleticism get to the NBA. So door closing, opening for more doors and more opportunities.
Let's stop there for a moment and talk about that. I'm really interested to know, was that your moment? What was tell us a little more about that.
That was my big my moment of realization. I was literally living on my parents' recliner chair for 6 months, feeling bad for myself because I was so down on myself. My whole life had been poured into, I'm going to play in the NBA, and I thought it was. And you know what? You have that career that's like you're good, but you're definitely not good enough, but you think you are. So when my mom said this, it also told me that not only is it a pivot of perspective, but you create the opportunities. You don't have to wait for another door to open. You don't have to just go through the same door that somebody opens for you. Like you go knock on the doors, you go make the phone calls. The phone isn't going to ring for you. So many of us think like Hey,
I love that. The phone isn't going to ring for you. That's great.
it's not. And that's how my career in the NBA coaching happened too. I hand wrote a letter to every NBA GM.
Wow.
Wrote every NBA. Nobody got back to it for a month and a half. And then I got a phone call from the GM, the general manager of the Los Angeles Clippers, Gary Sachs. And we had a normal conversation. At the end of it, he said, if you're ever out in LA, look me up, we'll grab coffee. Basically, good luck with the rest of your life, kid. And I took it as an opportunity. I booked a ticket. I spent all my money, stole some of my parents' money, booked a ticket to be out in Los Angeles that following week to pretend that I had a basketball camp so I didn't look desperate. And we hit it off. Everything from there, all my connections from the NBA, from Gary, he becomes one of my closest friends. He's in my wedding. I live with him. I moved out to LA. So you
Wow.
gotta take that you gotta just make that opportunity and take that opportunity.
Wow. So David, just switching the conversation a little bit, you're a man of faith, and how do you integrate faith into the coaching that you do?
Yes, that is the most important thing. The reason that I do what I do is to be able to show people, okay, like why am I different? Why am I serving in the service mentality, even when I don't feel like it? Like the greatest compliment that I can get is that I'm relentlessly consistent. That I'm going to show up with joy. I'm going to show up with passion. I'm going to wipe the floors before a basketball workout. I'm going to help people set up before a talk. All for the point of them asking, okay, why is this guy different? Why is he doing this? So that I can share them Jesus. I'm not necessarily saying in these basketball workouts, like, hey, Jesus is the way, even though I would love to say this in these books that I write. In these books that I write, there's underlying themes. Well, you will definitely see it, but I'm not just coming out and saying it. I want people to see it through the work and have it just, infused in them. And they're like, okay, this is what following Jesus and loving Jesus is about.
I love the fact that you're saying relentlessly consistent. Have you had anyone make a comment to you about that? Like, wow, I can just always count on you, or I can't believe you're just there.
Yes, that's how I came up with the term. It's in Pivot and Go. It's one of the main things in Pivot and Go is my NBA players would tell me, you're relentlessly consistent. I'd show up at 6 a.m. with having like 6 coffees. I'd be bouncing off the wall. These guys would be wiping the sleep out of their eyes like, let's go. Like, man. So relentlessly consistent sometimes to a fault, but no, that like we have that ability to show up the same way every single day with joy, with encouragement. The circumstances and situations don't define who we are, but a lot of us are like chameleons where, okay, if someone's gossiping or, there's something to complain about, we will. But those people that we want to be like, when you walk out of a room, we're like, man, I want more of that guy or that girl. Those are the people who are relentlessly consistent. In basketball terms, like the clutch player. Right. You can count on them no matter what.
Right on. So, David, talking about your teammates, basketball players, is there a large faith community in the NBA?
Yeah, there actually is. I mean, I wouldn't say large, but there's definitely a community of faith in the NBA, and a lot of them know each other. And you'll see it. You'll see the ones that will stand out for you. That it's always all the dynamic too, where you really hope that they're living what they're saying.
Yeah.
But Steph Curry, for example, lives it. He says it, backs it up. So yeah, and I mean, obviously it'd be great if everybody was, but that's how it goes, one by one.
So how did you get involved in, chosen with the leaders group when you're like ranked one of the top 50 and you're the youngest? I mean, how did that even come to be? Tell us a little bit about that as well.
So, I mean, yeah, that's just a ranking, which, rankings take them for what they're worth, but hey, I'll take it if I get that honor. There's obviously some phenomenal speakers that were not on that list, but yeah, so I decided when I was training NBA players that, what I love more than the actual X's and O's and teaching somebody a jump shot is encouraging them, is seeing them motivated, them inspired. And it was funny because we were sitting around a campfire years ago, probably 4 years ago, a couple NBA players and myself were having a barbecue, and they're like, you know what? Like, you should do that Tony Robbins stuff. Like, you be doing that Tony Robbins stuff. Do that. I was like, maybe there is something to that. So kind of a crazy story how I actually got into it. I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I didn't have any speaking reels or videos. And my wife's an actor and producer. So we just decided, I'm going to put on some different outfits, get on the stage, have her acting coach film me. So we create this reel. So it looked like I'd given a bunch of talks before. So we basically create this reel. I send it out to a bunch of places, get on phone calls with some companies, and end up booking massive keynote talk for my first talk.
Wow.
And it just kind of, it went from there. I love being able to.
But that's fantastic. You, like you said, you're living out what you're speaking, and you're being real about it. And I think that's what's so wonderful is you're authentic, you're real, you're doing it, you're putting the feet on the pavement, and that's what's encouraging for all of us. So I can't thank you enough for joining us today. We've run out of time. I know we could talk so much more, but thank you so much, David, for sharing those points, and that our viewers will really appreciate it.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Mitch.
All right, stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.
True, genuine service is about giving your time and energy when it's not convenient for you, when it doesn't align with your Google color-coded calendar. And I'm not the best at this. Trust me, I got a lot going on and I want to hit this and it's on my schedule, but we don't know what people are going through. I've lived a great life, like a lot of adventure, been over 50 countries, coached in the NBA, all this cool stuff, but I never really started living until I married Taylor.
You know, I have to say, over and over in my mind, I kept hearing the verse from Romans, 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, because that really feels that's what David is talking about. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And, on a lighter note, we were just joking off camera a moment ago, and I said to David, in elementary school, I was never great at basketball, or I was good at moving around. I was not good at shooting. And people would kind of joke with me about that. And he said, Mitch, probably the first thing you want to do is take that and leave that, right? And actually separate, you're not this guy who's bad at shooting. That's just what people are saying. And that's so cool what you're saying, Romans 12, verse 2, actually be transformed by the renewing of your mind and separate. Yeah, here's what people have said about me. Here's the past mistakes, whatever. But today's a new day, and we have that hope in Jesus.
Yeah, it's so right. And the fact that, he addresses really like mind, body, and spirit, because you do practical things to take those thoughts or to take that emotion that you had and connect smell and different actions to it and how it snap you out of it. And the fact that the foundation is his faith. So it make all those three together, and we have the tools, we have the power to be able to change our focus, our future, and how we walk into things. We don't have to take the baggage with us. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And just one last thought that I've got. What was neat in the first interview, what he said was what he'll teach people to do. They've got these things they carry with them, these mistakes. He says, give it an alter ego, right? Give it a different name. And what's so cool is that in Christ, we can do that, right? And our sin, our mistakes, the things we're embarrassed about, Christ wore that on the cross. And Paul says in Galatians, I've been crucified with Christ. I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. So that new identity, how exciting is that?
And we have to be relentlessly consistent, not just be wimps and give up at the first couple times, but it's something where we have to have stamina, endurance, and just keep going.
Absolutely.
So that's the word for today. It's been fantastic to have David Nurswitz. We'll have to have him back again. So stay with us. We'll be right back with a wonderful word from Eric Weir.
Hi, it's Eric Weir. It's great to be back with you again today and begin to talk about some more financial concepts. One thing I'm hearing almost endlessly is inflation, and fear is really high. We're looking at, if we're on a fixed income, how are we going to make it? Fuel prices are soaring. Real estate prices have gone up, and now interest rates are going up too. So what's going on? And I'll address the interest rates, and I'll give you a couple things to think about to help us to get a little more perspective. So interest rates are going up. The Federal Reserve of the U.S. and other countries around the world are increasing interest rates. And they're doing that with the idea to slow an economy, because with COVID-19, if you remember back just 2.5 years ago, there were news forecasts and experts saying that 10% of the global population would die maybe 20, and how scared everyone is and begin to stay home, and that travel would never come back. And we'd never go outside. There'd never be a family gathering again without us wearing a mask. And you see those dire reports and forecasts. They just didn't happen. Airlines are busier than ever. Hotels are busier than ever. And then we see an economy come back. And when it comes back, that creates there's scarcity. So there's pent-up demand. So that causes inflation. And now with the prices going up and interest rates going up, that'll likely slow. We're even seeing signs of that now, but slowing. And when that happens, it's more likely than not that the governments of the world will calm down and things will normalize. And there are so many opportunities being created for those of us who are in a position to take advantage of them. And what I end up telling everybody is that recessions and setbacks are opportunities for the prepared. It doesn't even have to be a wealthy person to take advantage of it. You can take advantage at any point in life, whether it's investing a few dollars or taking advantage of a situation, or using thrift shops and reselling. There's all kinds of opportunities that are out there. But the big thing to think about is perspective. If you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average in 1900 was at 66. It finished that 100-year span of the 1900s to year 2000, went above 11,000. That's an order of magnitude change that is unbelievable. Yet during that time, there was World War I, there was World War II, there was the Great Depression, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. So much happened in that 100 years, and yet economies grew many, many, many times, and a lot of wealth was created. So think about what we're experiencing now. It's kind of like we're in a traffic jam, and we're going to go from a place we normally go from that's maybe 50 kilometers apart, and the first 20 kilometers it takes us an hour and a half. We say at this rate we won't be there for 4 hours, and that will be true at that rate. But it never ends up like that. The traffic breaks and things happen, and it'll happen again. And if you think about the economies of the world, we're mostly at full employment. There's still a tremendous amount of cash in the financial system. We're beginning to see things beginning to slow. And what that'll likely do will cause some of our prices to come back down and normalize. So hang in there. The sun will shine again. The things are always in cycles that go from mountaintop, just like our personal lives. And we have amazing times, and then we're in a valley. And the only thing I can tell you is the amazing times, there's always a change, and we're in the valley. It doesn't last either. So be optimistic, look for opportunities. When there's fear in the streets and people are scared, they often make decisions that are not in their best interest. And oftentimes there are things that we can do personally to maybe take advantage of if we want to look at our personal retirement accounts and allocating them or making investments, or if we need to just hang on a little longer and realize that this too shall pass.